Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beat in the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead to the big matches coming up on the weekend. International break is now over and it's now back to some EPL action. Now, of course, joining me this evening to preview these big matches, we have returning to the podcast, Sir Cole.
Blessings and greetings, everyone.
We also have Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, gents. International break provided a much needed rest. But this weekend we are back in EPL action, Sir Cole, and we're going to kick things off, Sir Cole, over there at Ipswich Town. Manchester United, new manager in charge. Talk to us, Sir Cole. What can we expect from the new gaffer? Can he get his first win on the board versus a resurgent Ipswich team?
Well, I don't think you could have asked for probably better opponents to start against at this point in time. Can't tell you what to expect yet. It's first game, so with the different players, not the same team he had in Portugal. So not sure what his ideas will be at this point with those players. So wait and see what he will bring. But I suspect that whatever formation, whatever strategy, whatever players, he should be able to pick up 3 points versus Ipswich on the weekend.
So you're looking for something similar to his setup over there in Sporting Lisbon, Circle. That must be the expectation. A similar setup, similar approach, similar tactic. That must have been the reason that Manchester United went for this coach.
No, but different strokes for different folks. He has different players. It's really not the same team. So we don't know what his belief is in read these players. So really can't say as yet.
So
He have
it
had the
could
structure.
potentially be a Ten Hag 2.0 then, Circle.
No, we don't know. We are still at zero. We are still starting over. We have no ideas yet what he will conjure up with this squad. Each squad is different.
What says you though, Christoph? I mean, I'll bring you in at this point, Christoph. I mean, Amorim, big name coach over there in Portugal. That must be the reason Manchester United went for him, Christoph. And he should be bringing a similar philosophy to this United team. 3 at the back, 4 in the middle, and 3 up front. That's his usual setup. 3-3-4-3. Talk to us. Is that what we should expect?
I don't know if a formation conveys a philosophy, to be honest. So I can't say whether or not he will be utilizing that formation against Ipswich. It's probably one of the better oppositions to try and experiment against, but
I'm not sure it's an experiment. I mean,
no,
this is how Amorim coaches, and I would be very if I'm not seeing Manchester United playing 3 at the back.
No, but your first game is potentially going to be an experiment because it's not like there has been some preseason for him to do his experimenting in. So this first game is an experiment to see.
Well, I mean, the international break would have provided him with 2 weeks to get his ideas across somewhat. I mean, granted, some of the players may have been off, but at least those remaining behind.
I personally don't know if Manchester United had any practice matches. You know, you go and you're on the training ground and whatever, but that doesn't mean they have had the opportunity to practice with this formation in a game situation.
So what are you expecting then, Christoph? What would be satisfactory for you come match day, Saturday?
I think Manchester United probably go on and win this game. You know, there has been a lift in the camp since the removal of Ten Hag. And, you know, you could say they have a second new manager bounce coming into this game. So I expect a win for United. I don't know what formation they will be using. Amorim, as the manager, would have to come in and see if he has the players to play 3 at the back. I don't know.
He must go 3 at the back, Christoph. There is no other way. He has
Why
to go
is there
3
no
at the
other
back.
way? Why
Because
is there no
that
other
is
way?
his philosophy. That is how his Sporting Lisbon team has been playing
Three-
year in, year out and
three-
getting results.
3 at the back is not a philosophy.
Well, it's not a philosophy, but it's a tactical approach that he has been taking all through his managerial career. So why would you now come at United and change that?
Because
I would be very shocked.
Because you don't have the players to do it.
enough players are there at United, man, where you can find Manchester United is one of those teams which is not short of centre back circle. Johnny
So,
Evans is there,
okay.
Maguire is there, Delight, Martinez. It's one of the few teams which has a mass of centre halves at their disposal, all fit, ready, and gunning to go.
Are all those players experienced in playing a three-man defense?
Well, I mean, at some point in their career, they must have played in
Well,
a
I don't know.
in a
So, so,
tree.
so it will be, but to sit here and guess what the idea of the manager will be
Nah,
without
man,
having
there's no
seen the
guessing.
manager.
He has been playing tree all the days of his career, Sir Cole. Why would you now come to the biggest job in your managerial career and move away from a philosophy, a tactic, which has brought you success over the period? That would be shocking.
Because his experience maybe tells him that he will work. And I'm not saying he won't play three, I'm not saying he doesn't have to be three.
It has to be tree for me personally. If it's not tree, then it's Ten Hag 2.0 again. It has to be three. Stick to your philosophy. Live or die by your practices and your tactics, Sir Cole. Sir Cole, we are also seeing where Van Nistelrooy was dismissed over the international break as well. It seems as if Amorim is really cleaning house in the backroom staff. Talk to us about it. Was that a surprising move?
Well, manager coming in will likely come in with his staff, and Van Nistelrooy wasn't a part of his staff. He's really just a part of the business. So nothing strange in that decision.
Mhm.
Uh,
But
um,
Christoph,
I wasn't aware Van Nistelrooy was dismissed. I thought he made the decision to step down in order to
So did I.
pursue a
well,
managerial roles elsewhere.
no, man, his last press conference, he mentioned that he had a contract with United and there was no imminent dismissal. But however, with Amorim coming in, it seemed as if it's Amorim's decision not to have him as part of his backroom staff and just wipe the slate clean, so to speak. Which, as is expected in a sense, definitely you want to bring in your own hand-picked coaches and backroom staff, which probably you have been working with over the period, tried, trusted, and fully familiar with how you work as a coach. So no surprises there in terms of that move, but still looks a bit iffy, so to speak. But Christoph, what of this Ipswich team? Can Ipswich create an upset at home? I mean, the Manchester United possibly might be ripe for the picking at this point in time.
I mean, there's always the potential for a team to win a game in football. It's not like a basketball or NFL, to be honest. There is always that potential, and you have that home field advantage. It depends on how well United play for Amarin or whatever philosophy that he has asked them to play over the international break. Or if he's just going to, go out and continue what Ruud van Nistelrooy was doing in his interim. So it depends.
I would be very shocked and rather disappointed if I did not see Manchester United roll out with three at the back, in all honesty. But Sir Cole, in terms of a result for this game, how do you see this one playing out? Should it just be a routine United win, of course, with the new coach bounce?
Uh, Not necessarily. The coach is still getting to know the players. Some players would have been away for the majority of the period. So when I returned, he probably had a one or two sessions with them to become familiar with them as players. Even though he would have seen them many times, I think on TV or tapes, etc. But as for a scoreline, I'm really looking for a 2-1 Man U win.
2-1 Man U win. What says you, though, Christoph?
At the moment, I go with Manchester United win, 2-1, 2-0, probably.
I concur. This coach should come with some fresh ideas, circle. I am fully confident in this coach. And again, I'll mention it, I would be very and utterly disappointed, Sir Cole, if this manager plays for and move away
I,
from what
uh,
have suited him over the period. So I'm expecting Manchester United to roll out in a 3-4-3 formation circle and
I
get the better of this Ipswich team
I
easily. This
don't
should be
know
a
why
routine win
you
for
are
United.
singing on this formation. The formation is not that important.
Yes, man, the formation to me is vitally important. That has been the formation accompanied with the philosophy and the style of play which Amorim have used throughout his entire career. Why would you then get a job and then switch to something else? I can't fathom that. I can't see that. And if that is the case, then I would be very shocked. So I expect United in a 3-4-3 formation circle. But of course, with superior quality players, in my opinion, and of course, a rejuvenation, a re-energized team under new management, then this should be an easy routine win for United against strugglers, you could say. Promoted team Ipswich struggling and closer to the bottom of the league. So
So question then. So throughout Amorim's tenure at Manu, however long that may be, we will never see four being played at the back.
I am not saying it won't happen, but I would expect at very minimum 80-85% of the games Amorim will play a variation of either 3 at the back or 5 at the back, depending on how you want to classify that formation. So whether it's 5, if you want to call it a 5-3-3, or he'll play 3-4-3, but some variation of 3 at the back with wing backs, so to speak. So the wing backs will come into play, whoever those players end up being, because obviously Manchester haven't been necessarily playing with wing backs per se, quote and unquote. So he'll definitely have to either manufacture some wing backs or come January, go in the transfer windows. But for me, to be honest, with the sort of players Manchester United have at their disposal now, I can easily see a Luke Shaw playing a left wing back role, a Dalo playing a right wing back role, to be honest with you, Sir Cole. So to me, the personnel is there. It's just a matter of training them in that role and getting the best of them. If that doesn't work come January, you can now dip into the transfer market and get the players which you want to play your system. So to me, it's a no-brainer, Sir Cole.
All right, so time will tell.
Time will tell indeed, and I am definitely looking forward to this first game under new coach Amorim. But we move across to the blue side of Manchester Circle. Man City is the team versus Spurs. Talk to us, Circle. Man City, back-to-back defeats. What's going on over there? Haaland drought? Have the formula been unlocked to quell this Man City team? Or are we now seeing the real value of a defensive midfielder such as Rodri, Ballon d'Or winner at that circle? Is that what we're now seeing, where Man City is surely missing his influence in the middle of the park?
That's one theory. Yes, it could be. Perhaps another could be that, I mean, after winning four straight, they probably are just demotivated. Looking for something to challenge them. Probably they need to give the others a head start and see how well they can win them
Some
back in
sort
to
of
make it,
handicap.
to make it exciting. So, I mean, yeah, there's no team in the running like Man City. So it, it really would be fun to just run away for a fifth straight title. So you have to make it exciting to come down to the end. So I'm all for it, and I think come May, Man City will still be on top of the podium.
Christoph, what says you? Are we seeing a blip in the Man City team? And this opens the door for another, potentially a Liverpool to lift another title. What says you? Or even Arsenal. But to me, Arsenal is out of the running.
Okay. Um, I think it's a combination of a number of things happening at Manchester City. I believe the absence of Rodri, all right, is kind of caught up to them now. Kind of with Arsenal, where Arsenal are getting the results without Odegaard, and then last four games slipping. Same thing with Manchester City. They were getting results without Rodri early in the season, but now it's kind of caught up to them when playing against, better attacking opposition. Uh, as well as, like I said, the absence of De Bruyne and that creative figure in the midfield. I did say that Haaland's goal scoring would dip without De Bruyne, and it has happened. But also, somebody, said to me the other day, one of the biggest issues is not that there is a over reliance on De Bruyne, it's that Pep Guardiola has turned all of the playmakers and attacking midfielders into wingers. And as such, they're not providing the same type of creative outlet they did previously because they're all playing out wide.
That's definitely one theory. But De Bruyne made his comeback before the international break, would have gotten another 2 weeks of intense training under his belt during this period. So he should be up and running come match day for this game versus Spurs, in all honesty. So creativity is coming back into the team. As mentioned, the absence of Rodri is potentially the Achilles heel. But of course, we've also seen the inconsistency of Spurs, possibly beating Man City 1 week and then losing to Ipswich the next week. So Spurs themselves is a bit inconsistent. They can come up with a good game and then the following week they lose to potential relegation strugglers. So this one is gonna be a tight game. But for me, Sir Cole, I can see nothing other than a Man City win. In all honesty, Man City has to get the boat back on course in if they are going to be challenging come, as you said, May.
Well, truth be told, if you could review the last 4 weeks, you would have said the same thing about Man City anyway, and they lost all four. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's no surprise to say we expect Man City win. But coming up against Spurs, knowing how Spurs can be, any card can play. It could be defeat number five, as well as Man City could start their resurgence. It's really toss up as to what the outcome will be come this weekend.
I'm leaning more towards the side of a resurgence. Pep is too good of a manager. And as I mentioned before we went off for the international break, as you mentioned, this is just another challenge. This is Pep really challenging himself and possibly challenging his players. As you said, players may have lacked that motivation. When you look at the likes of a Bernardo Silva, a Phil Foden, a John Stones, these are players who have won multiple EPL titles. The motivation may be lacking. A Kyle Walker, for example. So Pep may just say, hey, all right, we're against the 8 ball. Let's show this league what we're made of. I mean, Pep has single-handedly converted the EPL into the Bundesliga circle. In the Bundesliga, it's Bayern year in, year out, back in the day. And we're seeing the same thing from Pep and Man City. It's Man City year in, year out. I mean, you may have challengers or pretenders like an Arsenal, for example, who may come close, who may try to push, but then fall short to the bitter end. And I mean, I'm seeing a similar possible narrative taking shape at this point in time. I mean, in terms of a scoreline though, Christoph, how do you see this one playing out?
I can agree with Sir Cole that this is a game that could go either way. It's a must win for Manchester City to bounce back, but Tottenham having been in also a poor spell of form, this is also a must win for them, a game that they should try and bounce back in as well. So I'm not quite sure, but I will go with a 2-2 draw for this one.
2-2 draw. Wow,
Yes.
that is quite surprising a call. For me, I see nothing other than a Man City win, and I'm expecting a multi-goal game. So for me, I'm gonna go 2-1 to Man City circle. 2-1 Man City. Haaland brace is my call. What says
Uh,
you?
besides when Man City play Liverpool, is there another game in which you see anything else other than a Man City win?
For sure, definitely. I mean, possibly Arsenal. Arsenal have been creating some upsets of late when they get up against Man City. So, yeah, it should be a
No,
tight game, but for me, it's gonna be 2-1 Man City.
the reality is, even when Man City lose, they expectation is for Man City to win. I don't think Man City really enters any game, especially in the EPL, as underdogs to win it. Despite injuries, despite form, Man City is Man City and will start favorites for every game, at least for my in my estimation. That being said, I would also I think a 2-1 Man City win is also will be the outcome for Sunday for this weekend.
Ah, indeed, should be definitely be an entertaining game, especially for the neutrals. And as I said, I'm expecting goals. Spurs is one of those teams that seem not to be able to keep clean sheets, and of late, Man City have been leaking themselves. So I'm expecting a multi-goal type scenario. Spurs is always an attacking team, always trying to play on the front foot. Playing away from home in this scenario, Man City at home, and for me, I think Man City will bounce back with a win versus this Spurs team. But we moved. Number of other games, Christoph, on show. Number of other big games. First one we're going to quick fire look at is Leicester versus Chelsea. How do you see that one playing out, and what's your predicted scoreline for that game? Leicester at home versus Chelsea.
Um, I give the advantage to Chelsea, given that they've been getting the results so far this season, and Leicester has been very much underperforming all season. I think it's probably 3-1, 3-0 Chelsea, Cole Palmer on the score sheet.
Cole Palmer on the score sheet. He has been the talisman for this Chelsea team, and as far as he will take this team, I think that's the distance that this team will go. Arsenal versus Forest Circle. Arsenal at home versus, I would say, is a surprise package in Nottingham Forest. Can Forest create another big upset versus potential EPL challengers?
It can. The return of Odegaard, I think, will add a bit of zing to the Arsenal attack. The Forest defense has been very, very stable all season so far, but I think the quality will get the better of that defense. I'm seeing a 1-0 Arsenal win.
1-0 Arsenal. So Odegaard is officially back, Christoph.
Odegaard is back, yes.
Oh, so
I'm
you're
expect
expecting him to start versus this first team.
I'm expecting to see Odegaard starting in his attacking midfield role, yeah. And if you recall, a number of Arsenal players did withdraw from international duty.
Mm.
So I'm expecting that there was a lot of work done on the training ground to kind of offset, the poor results potentially that they got last 4 games dropping points. So
Definitely. Arsenal seem to be struggling to find the back of the net of late. What kind of form will Odegaard be in though? Can he just turn it on immediately and find that creative spark that Arsenal have been missing
I
since
mean
his absence?
he did provide the assist against Chelsea in his game back, so I'm expecting him to continue.
What says you in terms of a scoreline?
I think it's a 2-0 Arsenal.
2-0 to the Arsenal. Ah, this one is another tricky one. Forest has definitely been a surprise package, but the quality of Arsenal should shine through. The law of averages should dictate that Arsenal do find a win at home, but it's always tricky after this international break. So for me, Sir Cole, I'm gonna go out on a limb on this one. I'm gonna call this one 1-1. I'm expecting Forest to find a goal, and with their defense, hold out for a 1-1 draw. To me, this game should run aground officially any hopes that Arsenal have been harboring of making any sort of EPL challenge. To me, they have dropped too many points thus far all season, and to me, they're out of the race. I don't see them catching either Liverpool or Man City this early in the season. I see no way back for them, and I think Forest will put another nail in that coffin, which Arteta have been hauling around since the start of this season. So it's a 1-1 draw for me in this one. Arsenal to drop more points is my call. Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace, Christoph. How do you see that one? Aston Villa at home versus a struggling Crystal Palace team, you could say.
Mm, Um, Aston Villa should win. Like you said, Crystal Palace has been struggling so far this season. Aston Villa has dropped the odd point here and there this season, but I think they have the better quality over Crystal Palace, and Unai Emery again, is continuing to do well. Um, I don't know if to me, last couple of games, Aston Villa has looked maybe somewhat overconfident, maybe in those games that they drop points. So it's a game to kind of level back out your team and get back to winning ways.
Definitely, I concur. But Sir Cole, I have been watching your England international, Ole Watkins. And to me, it seems as if the Colombian has unsettled him in that starting 11. He seemed to be looking over his shoulder, and as a result, his performances have been underwhelming. Duran, the man from Colombia, seemed to be giving him a real run for his money, and the pressure seemed to be telling. What says you? Can Ollie Watkins rediscover some form, or will we now start seeing Duran as the number one for Aston Villa?
Well, one thing I can say is that the coach will have a very hard decision to make because each time Duran comes on and does well, he has to think how long can he keep him on the bench for, and is there a way to fit them both into the team. That being said, if Duran is comfortable with his role in the team, then it just may work. We have seen in the past where players are okay coming off the bench, so we really don't know. But it's very good competition to have within a squad, within any squad. And mind you, Watkins scored a goal over the break, so maybe the coach will still give him a nod for this one again and see how it goes.
What says you though in terms of scoreline?
Uh, Aston Villa, well, sorry, Aston Villa. Palace, I think, is hungry for a win and will go all out. So I'm seeing this one a split down the middle. I'm calling a 1-1 draw for this one.
1-1 draw. Interesting call there, Sir Cole. Interesting call there indeed. But for me, I see nothing other than an Aston Villa winner. Aston Villa has to win this game if they harbor any aspirations of finishing in the top
Well,
four. And with a
the,
man like Leon Bailey, Sir Cole, coming back into the fold, this team is now full of creativity. Morgan Rogers, Leon Bailey, that's a deadly combination up front. And of course, if Oli Watkins is able to take his chances, then it should be lights out for this Crystal Palace team, which have been struggling to keep clean sheets all season. So for me, it's nothing other than a Aston Villa win. I am looking at possibly a 2-1 win for Aston Villa. Bournemouth versus Brighton, Christoph. Bournemouth versus Brighton. What says you? What's your predicted scoreline for that one?
So I think that's a difficult one to call. Both teams are in pretty decent form, and Bournemouth did beat Manchester City before the international break, and Brighton has been doing well in a number of games. Uh, I I mean, you would give the home team the advantage, but I feel like this is a potential for a 2-2 draw.
Indeed, indeed. 2-2 draw. Yeah, I do believe this is going to be a multi-goal situation in all honesty. And as you mentioned, it could go either way. None of these teams has any sort of airtight defense, and I'm expecting both teams to score multiple goals. For me, I'm going to lean towards a 3-2 win for Bournemouth. 3-2 win, but it wouldn't surprise me if Brighton find a winner as well. This one could really go either way. Very tough game to call, but I'm gonna lean on the side of Bournemouth. As you mentioned, the win over Man City should have this team very buoyant going into this game, and that may be enough for them to get a win over Brighton, which defensively still very shaky, not very solid at all. But Sir Cole, Everton versus Brentford. What's your call for that game? Everton at home versus Brentford.
Everton, I think, will put up a fight. Everton has been improving defensively, but I think that Brentford, especially with their attack with Mbumo and Wissa, should be able to overcome them. I'm seeing a 2-0 Brentford win.
2-0 Brentford win. For me, Sir Cole, Brentford is one of the weaker away teams. I can't see Brentford getting the better of Everton this weekend at all. Sean Dyche is a top coach, Sir Cole. One of the few Englishmen in the EPL. Everton desperately need wins, but Brentford, it's a big contrast between Brentford at home versus Brentford away. And I'm expecting Everton to come to this game, lock shop, and pinch one at the other end. Possibly a rare sighting of a Calvert-Lewin, big England international. So for me, I'm going to call this one Everton 1-0 over Brentford. Sir Cole, Wolves versus Fulham. This one, Fulham at home versus Wolves. How do you see that game? Fulham versus Wolves.
Wolves, I think, are trying to now dig themselves out of the hole that they are in. Will be putting up a fight. Fulham has been doing very well, both in attack and in defense. Really tight game. However, I'm going with the edge to Fulham by 2-1 in this one.
2-1 there. Christoph, what says you about Newcastle versus West Ham? Newcastle at home versus West Ham.
Newcastle has been, doing, you could say, relatively well the last two games, given that they beat Arsenal, they beat Nottingham Forest, who you've been heaping praise on. Um,
Definitely.
West Ham have what, three wins. Newcastle has 5 wins. It's not as a very big disparity between the teams, in my opinion, except that you have to say that West Ham has probably been underperforming so far this season compared to last season, whereas Newcastle, you would say, we said earlier this season, seems to be overperforming how they've been playing. I think I would give the edge to Newcastle at the moment, but it's a game with the potential for anything.
This game should be an easy Newcastle win, Christoph, in all honesty. Easy Newcastle win. Home in front of that Newcastle faithful coming off the international break. Big England international Eddie Howe at the helm circle. This should be a walk in the park for this Newcastle team. West Ham seem not to be able to find that balance all season. And Newcastle should be fully motivated to take the game to them. For me, I'm seeing this game, Isak on farm, Garden. I'm seeing that combination resulting possibly in a 2-0 win for Newcastle. So for me, easy win for Newcastle, 2-0.
But most times, if it's an easy win, I expect a wider margin than 2 goals.
Well, I mean, Newcastle is no prolific scorers. I'm not going to expect them to blow West Ham off the park. But when I say easy win, it should be let me rephrase, comfortable Newcastle win. It's probably a better description. Comfortable.
1-0 is not a comfortable win.
No, 2-0. I'm calling it 2-0. 2-0.
Right now, it's sounding like a very easy, comfortable 1-0.
No. 2-0. I'm calling this one 2-0.
Easy 1-0.
2-0 Newcastle with the potential for more, in all honesty. With the potential for more. But the final game on the agenda, Sir Cole, Southampton versus Liverpool. What says you?
No, this is the one that we should say is easy. Liverpool.
Well, what says you in terms of a scoreline?
Yeah, we have seen Liverpool in good form at the defensive end, also in attack. Wouldn't expect Southampton to put up much resistance. However, sometimes the defensive lapse and you do get the odd goal. But I'm seeing at least a 3-1 win. My
3-1.
call for the game is 3-1.
So you're expecting Southampton to breach that Liverpool rearguard circle, the best defense in the league?
Yeah, man. Best defenses do concede as well.
That's quite a shocking call there. I thought you would have gone NG, 0-0, but You're calling one for Southampton. Quite shocking indeed. But for sure, it should be a routine Liverpool win. But this is the EPL circle. This is the EPL.
And
And
not,
on
not,
any
not
given
only
weekend, any card can play.
not only may Southampton score, possibly may also score first. They never know how these things go.
Indeed, the ball is round. The ball is round. But Christoph, any final thoughts as it relates to the action coming up this weekend?
It's good to be back. You know, a lot of players, you know, I guess have been rested. Granted, it's more the outside the big six that would have gotten the most rest, to be honest. But a number of England international players did withdraw from their squad, so at least those players did get rested. So it's
But did they
interesting.
withdraw for injury purposes or just to be rested, so to speak? They must have been nursing some sort of injury.
No, I don't believe it was injuries. I think it's a case where they don't see the importance of the Nations League or whatever, so they have withdrawn from that squad. You know, it's a good opportunity for some other players to make some names for themselves.
Definitely. I must say, Curtis Jones, the Liverpool midfielder, did make a name for himself with a potential Puskas award versus Greed. That sublime backheel goal, I must say, quite impressive. But Sir Cole, any final thoughts for you? But
Circle
as it
looks
relates to this
unimpressed.
weekend?
Looks unimpressed, Circle.
I don't know how this thing coming here with Puskas Award. Last time it was Gavin Birch for Player of the Season. I don't know where these ideas come from. But yeah, got to have the EPL back. I look forward to another weekends playing. Looking forward to some very good attacking football.
Definitely much to ponder as we go into the action on the weekend. Manchester United, one of those teams that should be on the radar and seeing what the new coach will bring to the fore. In fact, that is the game I am looking forward to most. Just examining the tactics and philosophy and the playing style of Amorim. And I will be glued to my TV come the weekend. But viewers and subscribers, thank you again, Christoph Circle. Thanks again for passing through and, of course, sharing your thoughts and your opinions. Definitely appreciated. Viewers and subscribers, again, thank you for the continuous support. Of course, you can further help us by sharing, liking, and, of course, leaving your predictions in the comments section. What says you? How will these games turn out? Are you seeing any potential upsets in the making? But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.